would you do if you met God? I imagine for most of us, this would be a tremendous surprise, since most of us are very, very unsure about the existence of God. What might that mysterious reality be? I think the default position in today's society is that we are agnostic. We have not seen any scientific evidence of God. We are trained in the scientific method. There is no real objective proof of God's existence. And so most of us would say, well, you know, I just don't know. I don't know what to say about that. God lies outside my experience. And this may even be true if you are religious. Even if you go to synagogue on a regular basis, even if you pray to God, it may not be so obvious to you that God exists. So what is the basis for faith in God? And why do we have a long tradition of people who believe in God? It's a complicated question, but I think I can give one simple answer, and that is that at least there have been some members of every generation of humanity and the Jewish people who have had some kind of direct experience of the divine. It may be in a circumstance that unfolds in one's life, or it may be a direct encounter in prayer or meditation. And there are some spectacular descriptions of encounters with God in the Bible. Now, people sometimes dismiss this as mythology. It was a long time ago. It was an oral tradition. Things get distorted in oral transmission. And yet, we have traces of God's footsteps throughout the Jewish scriptures, and actually any scripture in the world has pretty much the same kinds of hints or actual experience, concrete phenomena that seem to demonstrate the existence of some divine being. So the reason I'm bringing this up is that I just came back from a retreat, a spiritual retreat. The purpose of a spiritual retreat, of course, being to encounter and culture and refine the spirit. And I had a couple experiences where I could say maybe I encountered the divine. And I want to tell you what it was like for me. It's not what you'd expect, or maybe it is what you'd expect, but it wasn't what I expected. It was similar to being picked up by a tiger by the neck and carried for some time. So it was an experience of awe and trembling, basically. I was not able to think. I was not able to do much of anything except cry. So that was my my brief experience of the divine. It was not unpleasant, certainly. Once it had ended, I felt a sense of elation, and that actually that my insides had been rearranged in a certain way. Different kinds of thoughts, different kinds of feelings, different kinds of perceptions about the world, I would say, have arisen since that experience. And I feel a sense of relief and release from the past. Maybe this is in accordance with what we read about the Exodus, going forth from slavery in Egypt and being redeemed by God. Some of those experiences, by the way, are pretty rough. All I can say is that mine was not that dramatic. It wasn't that extended, but it was something that has changed my life for the better, and which shook me up in a certain way. So I hope to bring the benefit of that experience to my teaching and my rabbinate and my relationships with all of you. So thank you for listening, and I may have more on this in our next transmission. So in the meantime, I want to wish you a wonderful week, and Shabbat Shalom.